All right, everybody, I'm so happy to see you here, and I'm going to go ahead and get started. And I thank you all for showing up. It's hard to say how many people will be on here, but I'm excited to even have one or two, because this is our first live Tantra Q&A. The exciting part about the ebook was that it actually was picked up in every single continent on the planet and almost every country. So that was kind of crazy cool. Almost every state, almost every country. It was like, wow. So looking at all the places where the ebook got downloaded was amazing. Of course, there's some people who, live in all sorts of crazy places in the world that may not be here, but I'm excited for anybody that is. And so the whole purpose of this evening really is about answering your questions about Tantra, about finding out what it is you want and need to know. And then I have a special invite for you later. So I got this hair sticking off the end of my glasses. So anyway, so what I want to do also is a lot of people were kind enough or interested enough to fill out the pre-call survey. So it gave me a lot of information about what y'all want to know. And would you believe it? What do you think the number one thing people want to know about Tantra? You think it's that they want to know about how to breathe? Guys like, no. Do you think it's they want to know how to sit in the yab yum and do the right mudra? No. It's, of course, most people want to know how to blend spirituality and sexuality together and to really feel connected during sex. And of course, a lot of men want to know, hey, I hear that secret magic Tantra thing about ejaculation and orgasm being separate. So I'd love to know, how does that happen? And of course, then a lot of the women are like, how do we help our men get on board with this whole Tantra thing? So I can, address some, address most of these things. But I did want to start out by saying, if you read the Tantra Foundation book, you probably have an idea that Tantra and Neo Tantra are two separate things. And how I want to talk about it so that it's really clear is talking about Tantra means I'm talking about lineage Tantra. And really, lineage Tantra simply means, if anything simple about Tantra, it simply means that you had a master or a guru who held the lineage, his line, through energetic transmission of all the teachers before him. And you studied with this person. And when you study with this person, it's about doing the chores, tasks. It's about being in devotion to your teacher. And old school was that you literally lived with your teacher. You basically took care of all their basic needs, their material needs. You fed them, you took care of their house, their family, and they would just dispense information, blah, 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 all day long. They would do their practices. They would assign you practices. But here's the thing that most people don't know that's really super cool. It's not that a Tantra master or guru is ever holding back secrets. In fact, not only always talking about Tantra, and it can be in weird things. They're telling some story about the baby osprey or whatever in the tree, and you're like, what the heck? But they're talking about Tantra the whole time they're speaking about anything. They're speaking about Tantra and the ability for you to drop into the place you need to receive the energetic download that they have. Now, here's the deal. It's never closed off. They're not waiting for them to give it to you, right? They're not trying to wait for you to get that. They're waiting for you to be in the right space that it happens. So no holding back. My teacher wasn't waiting for some special thing to happen other than for me to all of a sudden be in the right frame of physical, energetic, emotional to actually receive the download that's always happening. So could it accidentally be that you were wandering around the earth and you ran into a Tantra master guru and you just happened to be in the right place and all of that energetically downloaded into you? Possible. How possible? Like tiny, minute possibility. One, finding somebody like that, but two, that you'd be in that right receptive space. And the reason for that is because we're not raised the way people used to be raised. You know, when people were doing these practices and stuff, this was really like people were from the ground. They were living in the ground. They were living on the earth. They were connected to nature. They weren't living in technology. They weren't living in their upper body. They weren't living up here in their heads, freaking out about stuff. So it was a lot easier thousands of years ago for somebody to learn and be in the right space to have that happen. Today, we are so disconnected from those places that it would take a long time. Not only that, but we're doing ancient practices in a way that's actually incorrect for where we are now. Ancient practices were created to uplift. And the whole thing about transcendence was really about getting your energy to rise up a little bit out of your lower chakras. And people were grounded, really grounded into the earth. So they had to have that feeling of elevation, that feeling of, going to something else, going towards the sun. It wasn't really that that's the secret. It wasn't really that that's even the purpose. It's just that people were so stuck in the rootedness of their life that they had to have that feeling or consciousness of elevation. Today, we're all way too elevated. We're up too high in our bodies. We're in our heads. Our energy's streaming out all over the place. And if we're doing practices that have that up and down, that streaming practice that it used to be, the ancient practice, we're blowing ourselves out. So we can't really use the practices that were created for one type of people who lived a certain way for Western societies. This is why people are doing all these crazy things and doing all the yoga and doing all this and that. But instead of getting really grounded and solid and really like empowered, they're all like getting blown out of their minds and psychotic episodes and beliefs of Kundalini awakenings. And anyway, that's what's happening. So lineage Tantra was passed down from master to student. Sometimes the master only had one student in his entire life. And so his lineage, that DNA lineage, was carried for one person looking for the right student to have. Now, that wasn't true for all lineages, but that was true for the one that I carry. In fact, I have 3 that my teacher was the last one to hold any of those. I'm the first woman and the first Westerner to have those lineages in my body. And a curious thing is my daughter actually is the first in that lineage even born into that. So that's gonna be interesting to see what transpires with her. So is it important that today we get that information? You know what? I think there's plenty of information that we can have and live with and take on without having to seek out that, lineage download transfer thing. I mean, it sounds super cool. It is kind of really cool, but it's not necessary. And it's more necessary to learn how to become aware and connected into your body and stop blowing yourself out. That's way more important in my viewpoint. Now, maybe that's like somebody saying, having multiple orgasms isn't really important, but if you've never had them, then you're like, what? They're the holy grail, right? So, okay, so maybe I'm sitting here with it so I can say it's not important. But I'm telling you that the reason I say going on that hunt for that isn't important is because most people will never be in a position to receive the download information that's there all the time, because we have to overcome all this programming and all of this societal upbringing. And it's a lot. I mean, it's Herculean. I think that's the word. I always say that word wrong. Herculean effort to even go there. So we look towards Neo Tantra. Now, Neo Tantra actually has like this much of Tantra in it. It's just like so hardly there, except for the word. And it was kind of created by this actual dude, this businessman way back when. I think it was the 11th century. Now, I am not a tantric historian, just so we're clear, but I have done a lot of research with friends who are scholars. So he was like, hey, look, all these Westerners and all these people seem to be interested in the exotic sexual techniques of the East. And, this idea of yoga. And, Western people have always liked things that were, different. I mean, that people do. We like things that are exotic and different and stuff. And maybe they have the answers there. So he actually took, Ayurvedic, yoga, some Kama Sutra, a little bit of, some sex from over here and a little bit of sex from over there and a little bit of this sprinkled in here, and goes, here we go. Let's do this. So, it was kind of called Tantra, because nobody knew the difference really back then. So that made it kind of cool. And that's just gone on and on. The big revolution that comes out of that was really back in the 60s here in the United States, when all of a sudden that got really brought to light, like this whole like, woo, we're doing Tantra and it's all about love and it's all about connection and great orgasms and yay and like this kind of thing. And I am not knocking any of that, just so we're clear. So Neo Tantra really is about the sexual arts of being in your body. It's not a practice to enlightenment. It is certainly feels enlightening if you're having tantric union with your partner and you feel as though you're holding the hands of God during sex. You can certainly feel pretty damn enlightened. I'll tell you that right now. So we're not knocking that. Okay, where do we start with that? Well, you can certainly read a lot of books, and people do that. There are lots and lots and lots and lots of books out there on Neo Tantra. And some of them are really great, and some of them are just, And why is that? Well, because there's no actual real, there's maybe 3 or 4 masters of Neo Tantra, but what typically has happened is that somebody will take a weekend class or read a book and then kind of feel like they're entitled to say, I'm a Tantra master, or I teach Tantra, I'm a Tantra teacher. We all know that got also evolved into more of the, here I am doing erotic massage, and that's Tantra. And then here I am doing sex work, and that's Tantra. And so the word Tantra got like consumed by all sorts of things. Now, tell you straight up, you want erotic massage? Not a problem for me. You want sex work? Not a problem for me. I don't have a moral issue around any of this stuff. What I have is let's label things and get clear about stuff so people know how to find what you want to find. So if you're somebody who's really interested in going to a naked event where people have sex together and you think that's Tantra, and you hook up on one of my workshops and you're all like, woo, I'm so excited, this is gonna be great. And you show up at my workshop and you're like, when do we get naked? And I'm like, well, we don't. You're gonna be bummed out. You're gonna feel like you're really ripped off. However, if you're looking for that connection, I want a safe place to kind of, bond with my partner because I was sexually abused, and you show up to an orgy, you are gonna be flipped out. And this is where you can get in trouble because you can be told you need to push past your boundaries. It's all good. Just jump right in and dive in and we're all going to be great. And this is totally not true. So I get as many emails from people getting wounded by the Tantra, Neo Tantra world as I do from people who are having good experiences. So why I want to label all this, even though people say, well, no, we don't need labels. Yes, we do. We do, because we need to be able to find what we want. So just know that the word Tantra now could mean anything. And it's not anything, but it could mean anything. So I'm at least trying to get people now to start using the word Neo Tantra in front of their Tantra so that it helps people figure out that these are the sexual arts of Tantra. This is what's going on. Now, I have had over the last 30 years and then like 20 years mostly, kind of a revolution of being able to do that. People have seen me as an authority of some things and they're starting to say, okay, so you'll see the word Neo pop up a lot more these days than it used to. I have been leading the charge. It helps me too, because if I'm teaching a Neo Tantra class or a Neo Tantra certification, then people know, hey, that's where I can go to learn these things. We're going to be talking about intimacy. We're going to talk about connection. We're going to talk about men separating ejaculation and orgasm. We're going to talk about women having vaginal orgasms and all of that stuff. Great. So you won't be disappointed then. So takeaway from this is to please be aware when you're reading, researching, going to take a workshop, whatever, that you know what you're going into, that it could be anything across the board. I get a lot of emails and stuff, especially from men who are like, hey, I want to come have a session with you so I can separate ejaculation and orgasm. And they've been told that to do that, they need to have a lingam, which is the penis, lingam massage, and work with a dakini or tantrika to teach them how to do that. Well, okay, but you don't need to do that. You can actually do it by yourself. I have a great program that teaches you how to do that in the comfort of your own home. If you want to go do it with somebody else, certainly you can, but a lot more cost effective to do it yourself. So see, those two things right there, the same kind of thing, but done in a different way, is where people can get confused. So you don't need, in the Neo Tantra world, you don't need a partner to practice Neo Tantra. In fact, it's a solo journey to start. Excellent way to really get in tune with yourself, really understand your own body, understand your physical awareness, understand your sexuality, and then be able to share it. Now, if you are partnered, that's great. One of the big questions I always get is from women typically, how do I get my man on board with Neo Tantra? And I tell women this: if you're not having a great sex life already with your man, and now you're telling him one more thing he has to learn how to be good at, he may balk. Men frequently show up at my workshops like this. The woman's drugged them to the workshop, and the guy's all like, you know. And he's like that because, frankly, he's worried he's going to find out one more thing he's doing wrong. One more thing she's disappointed in him about sex. And so he's not typically happy about that, especially if they're not having a good sex life anyway, and he can barely understand what intimacy is. And now she's talking about connected, hold the hands of God sex. And he's like, holy crap, are you kidding me? I can't even figure out the password just to get you into bed for regular sex. How am I going to go there? Right. So they get a little freaked out about that. So ladies, don't put a book down. You know, you buy the book and you put it down on the coffee table and hope he reads it. Most of them are not going to do that. What you need to do is you need to already be connected to your man. He needs to feel like he's awesome. And then you get to tell him, hey, babe, you know how we're having sex and it's great and I love having sex with you? I want to learn to have more sex with you. I want to learn how to have more connected sex with you. But more sex being the operative word, because he may not understand what connected is. Now, that's stereotypical. I know as many men out there that are saying to me, Tanya, how can I teach my wife to connect and, surrender and be intimate with me during sex? Because all she wants is for me to hop on there, pound away, and be done. And I want to cuddle and snuggle and connect and be intimate. She's just not into that. So it does work both ways, right? And Neo Tantra is great for all these things, because really a good Neo Tantra teacher is going to be teaching you how to get into your own body first, put on your own oxygen mask on first, before you start learning how to connect with your partner. So what are some of the highlights of Neo Tantra that we hear about? Endless orgasm. Ah, yes, endless. It is true that you can live in a state of orgasm. And it's true that you can take a breath and have an orgasm too, which is awesome. I could do it for you right here, but that'd be kind of showing off, right? So it's not as hard once you're into your body. Now, maybe you don't have any orgasms and you're like, well, this is all crazy talk. And now I've got it. There's 9 orgasms, and then there's energetic orgasm and take a breath orgasm. And oh my God, and I'm overwhelmed. I can't even have the first one. Right. It's not supposed to be a performance sport. That's the whole point of Neo Tantra, is that we take the performance off of it. So how can we hold up performance and goals in Neo Tantra, by the same token tell you don't have any goals, right? That would be pretty freaking confusing, I would think. Here's all your goals, but don't have any expectation of them. Well, that's the whole point. This is what you are capable of as a human. All of these things, separating ejaculation from orgasm for a man, having orgasm as a man and never losing your erection and just continuing on and on with lovemaking, multiple orgasms for women, on and on and on, take a breath for everybody orgasm. And here, show up and just be with each other. Show up and not have an expectation of an orgasm. Show up and not have an expectation that you're having regular sex. Show up and just breathe and be with each other and see what happens. And people are very confused about that, but really it's absolutely some of the most stunning feelings and expressions that come from that. Because when you're present, truly present, and you're not thinking about what your next move is, that's when that magic of being able to totally open up to the presence and the experience of the moment happens. That's when it happens. Not when you're thinking about, oh, I got to do this move here and that move. People call me up to ask techniques. What technique to get her off every time? And I say, don't have any. What? Don't have any techniques. That's the best one right there. All right. So kind of the broad overview of both, Tantra being a technology. Lineage Tantra is the most powerful technology for personal transformation on the planet. I mean, if we really wanted to create radical change on the planet, everybody would be learning that. And maybe they just would get initiated in the first stage of it. That's enough for most people. However, this is where we would go. Neo Tantra, learning how to love, connect, have better sex. And when I say better sex, I don't mean orgasms and stuff. I actually mean connected, heartfelt, surrendered, and really in the moment present, so that it isn't about, that stuff lasts forever. I have a couple, let me think for a second here. They started coming to me in their early 70s. I think they're in their mid 80s. And one of their retirement goals was to have sex in every country in the world. And, it's awesome. Of course, their sex life has changed at 80, but, it looks different than it was. But they're telling me that every single time they make love, it's different because they're present. So they're present for whatever shows up, instead of he does her, then he gets his, and we're done. That's boring, right? That gets boring. You're not going to do that for a lifetime. Really, trust me. Yeah. So what are you guys interested in? And so this is a Q&A. I wanted to do a little preamble in case people were late, and I wanted to give you a little bit overview of what's going on. And remember, I said I was going to do an invite too. One of the things that people keep asking me about is, when the heck am I going to start, teaching this stuff online, or when the heck am I going to actually start doing group Tantra experiences? Well, we have created a membership for Tantra, for Neo Tantra and Tantra, both things. So we'll be throwing a link up for that at some point, and you're welcome to check it out and see what you think. And it's probably going to be the most comprehensive, awesome way to get involved with Tantra with me. All right, so does anybody have any questions? Anybody want to jump on here? Because all you have to do, let's see, you go to the chat, and if you go down to your bottom of your screen there, you'll see like a little chat bubble, and you can type a message that says that you have a question, or just like say, I'm raising my hand, and Tom will come on and unmute your mic, and then you can chat with me live. And if not, you're going to have to endure me singing some type of song while I wait. We do have some people here that are in group programs with me, and they know that I am all about the singing the song until you do. So anybody have a question? I know Shane, you're always asking me questions. Got to have something going on here. I will preamble. Please ask while I'm yakking. But one of the questions I got recently was, how hard is it to learn to separate ejaculation from orgasm? That's for men. And, the truth of the matter is, it's really pretty easy if you have all the steps. And if you're willing to, do the steps. It's about finding your ejaculation number. That's how many times your prostate pulses before you have the final pulse. There's 2 different nerve roots. So it takes some really getting like present and breath work with your body to figure out what your, count is and that type of thing. And learning how to relax into, because all the methods that you'll read about are all about pressure points and clenching down on trying to stop it instead of relaxing into it so that the orgasm continues, but the ejaculation doesn't happen. So it's not, and I'm raising my hand. I'm a woman. So I'm maybe you're going to say to me, well, you're a woman. What do you know? Except that I've taught thousands of men how to do it. So I get reports back that, yes, I have a method that works really, really well for that. Another thing I get from women is, how do I have G-spot orgasms? Well, that's really about, on your own, that's about having the right angle. But more than that, it's about having a really toned pelvic floor. Do not do Kegels. Kegels are dead. We do not do Kegels anymore. They're the worst way to have your pelvic floor be healthy. Yes, I used to teach those too until I learned from a what is she? She's a biomechanical physical therapist. So anyway, I found out that no, we're actually messing our pelvic floor up by we do more Kegels in the United States than anybody does in the country, and we have the highest incontinence rate and the worst pelvic floor. So let's stop doing those. But it's really about having a toned, healthy, whoops, sorry guys, toned, healthy pelvic floor, as well as being able to relax into the pleasure, whereas most women tense down when they're working towards orgasm. They clench and stop breathing, and that clench and stop breathing means that you'll just have a tension release orgasm versus a full-blown whole through your body orgasm. So those are answering the top 2 questions up there that I get on that. Anybody else? No. Kelly, you have a question in the middle of the night? Nope, she's good. She says, I see this. I know she hates coming on anyway. It's like, don't ask me. Tom, you got a question for me? Yep.
Oh, yeah, here I am. It's actually something we discussed a little while ago, recently actually. It was about how a man can handle a woman's anger.
Oh, yeah.
And in a way of being with love, as a lover.
Right.
This whole discussion.
Yeah. So it was awesome. Tom and I were having this discussion, and I said that I just heard from somebody who told me that they'd had a personal breakthrough, that they were no longer afraid of women being angry. And that was awesome, because I said, oh, well, that means he's now a safe man for women. And Tom's kind of like, what? Like, what do you mean? What do you mean by that? And so, Tom, I'm hearing you thunk in there. Some I think that's you. So what happened with that is I said, well, think about it. If you're a man who has the ability to stand fast in a woman's anger, you're not afraid of a woman being angry, that means you are a rock star. You can absolutely, Kelly's shaking her head, yes. You can absolutely handle her anger. It also, I'm not talking about abuse now. That's not cool, right? But she's angry and you don't shrink from it or freak out about it or deer in the headlight or whatever, because that means that she can surrender to you in the bedroom. She can show up fully in bed with you, because when we're really letting go in making love, we cry, we can have rage, we can freak out, we can like go up and down and all around and all these things, but not with somebody who we're afraid can't handle it. So like I said, no abuse. Nobody should tolerate somebody abusing them. But if I got all of a sudden angry and I'm like, hey, I'm really angry that you're doing that. And the guy's all like, well, man, I'm not going to feel like he's very safe. So to really rock it in the bedroom, you need to be a safe man. Now, I have to say that the Tantra goddess movement has out of freaking control. I will say this right now. There are people teaching women out there to demand that the man up so that she can surrender to him, including shaming the man, belittling the man, taking the man down, shoving her abuse down his throat, and then saying, you can't take this, so I'm not going to surrender to you. Okay, that is not what I'm talking about, okay? That is not what I'm talking about at all. That's just flat out abuse. That is not cool. All right. So what I'm talking about is that if a man is able to handle the emotional landscape of a woman, her passion can rise up too. If I can't get angry, how do I get passionate? Right? Like, because some of that's like, oh my gosh, I really want to ball. You see the Italians, they're all fighting, blah, 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 blah. And then the next thing you know, they're making out, down on the floor, having sex. All that fuel and passion, they're not afraid of that. It allows that spark to fly. So, yes, men, can you handle your women's emotions? Are you afraid of them, or are you okay with them? And if you're okay with them, chances are she feels a lot safer to be fully expressed. Fully expressed women have much better sex. They have the ability to really enjoy that. So hopefully that, I know that for Tom, and I know that for this other guy I talked to, when I said, well, you're safe for women, he's like, I never thought about that. I'm like, yeah, thank you. Thank you for now becoming safe for women. He was like, wow. He thought he'd done something just for himself. All right, what's Shane saying over here? He's like, can you explain the link between breath work and breaking patterns of fear and lack of confidence? Well, yeah, because fear and lack of confidence always comes down to abandoning your body, not being inhabited in your body. When you get scared, when any of us get scared, especially as children, we either contract down, right? or we kind of leave ourselves. We like abandon our body. We don't want to feel what we're feeling. So if we actually want to feel if we actually have to be in our body to break the fear and lack of confidence. And a confidence also has to do with practice. So nobody gets confident by thinking about it. When I'm teaching men who don't date a lot to date, and they're all like, well, tell me about it all, how it's going to go. And I'm like, look, I can sit here and give you theory and whatever in your head, but until you get out there and just start getting rejected and just start checking it out, it's not going to work. So breathing, though, being able to step in and inhabit your body with your breath means that you'll feel more solid. You'll feel like you are inhabiting your body, so that when you approach a situation, I used to horse show jump, and I tell the story of when I'm sitting outside the ring and I'm all like, oh my God, I could die. What the hell am I doing? I'm like, get into my body, just take a breath and relax. And as soon as that whistle goes, I am so present in the moment. Being present in the moment means I don't really have a lack of confidence, because lack of confidence is about being in your head. I don't really have fear per se that isn't real fear, like that should be there, because that's, being in your head too, future tripping. Oh my God, when I take that jump, I could fall off, whatever, that's all that. So breath work breaks the pattern of being disconnected from your body. And really, everything is about being in your body. And, people say, well, of course I'm in my body. And I will tell you, I know very few people in their body, like completely inhabiting their body. Not a lot of people walking around that way today. It's very easy to get pulled up into this area right here. Just from all the electronics and technology, and from the fact that we're not, out barefoot on the ground, we're not laying out on the ground, we're not digging in the dirt. So many, we're disconnected, and we're getting these dopamine hits when we're connecting on social media that we think are oxytocin hits. So we think we're feeling connected, but we're not. And our body recognizes the difference. We know that it's dopamine, but we still, so we're getting more disconnected. So yes, breath work. And what kind of breath work would you use is a good question that isn't there. What kind of breath work could be just as simple as what we call awareness breath? And if everybody wants to take a moment right now and do some with me, it looks something like this. You can close your eyes unless you're driving or, flying a plane or operating heavy equipment. And so you're just going to start with just following the breath that you're already having in your nose into your body. So you're exhaling and inhaling completely normally to you. Don't change a thing. Just become aware of what's going on. Just become aware of what you're currently experiencing. So I'm going to let you just do that. Don't change. Just feel the breath come in, however far it goes, and feel it come out. And if your brain wants to hijack you somewhere else, just bring it back to your breath. And in and out. Just keep following it. Be aware of your breath. And as you're aware of your breath, you will start to become more aware of your body. And then come back to the breath. And maybe feel the temperature on your skin. And then come back to your breath. So that's just awareness breath. It's just about being aware of the breath that you're currently having. And as you become aware of the breath you're currently having, you'll also start to become aware of your body physically, meaning you might notice temperature. You might notice that you're more tired. You might notice all sorts of different things. But the one thing you want to keep coming back to is your breath. So your mind goes off, la, 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 I'm thinking about the laundry, what, nope, back to my breath. So that awareness breath you can use anytime, anywhere. Once you train, I would say practice 5 minutes a day at least. Once you train your body to do that, you start creating neural pathways in your brain that your body recognizes. Oh, so now I say awareness breath and my body goes, okay, and follows into awareness breath. That was so funny. I said awareness breath and Siri asked me what I wanted. So maybe my Siri is also doing awareness breath. So basically you can train your body to become responsive to even your thoughts about breath. So you're going to walk into a business meeting. You stop at the door before you walk in. You're thinking awareness breath. You're bringing your breath all the way down to your butt. And then you're walking into the space. And you're walking in a very different state, right? That would be a state of confidence, because that would be a state of inhabiting your body. And it's only if you go back to your mind and your brain that you'll freak yourself out. So that's what I would say about doing that. Anybody else have anything for me? I wish I had a good Tantra song, you know. Da, da, da. By the way, I have an exercise ball, so this isn't just me, you know, levitating myself without the ball. You can ask the question in the chat room, or you can just say, you know, down there in the chat, I want to talk. So Tom can unmute your mic and you can actually speak to me live. How exciting is this? I've been excited. This, by the way, is my rock star background here. So did everybody do that awareness breath? And I'm curious if anybody had any experience with that. What do you think, Shane? You can type down there how that worked. And did you get your question answered correctly? Hello, Nirvana. Good to see you there. Somebody else with their their thing on, looking tired. Is this a late night? So right now, just waiting for your questions. I've been pretty well talking nonstop for almost 40 minutes, so I could use a... Worked great, and you got your answer. Happy you did that. Okay, and you did awareness breath, and that's true. You should be remembering awareness breath, because I think you were in one of my group programs, as I remember, and you all should know that from that. Anything else? Topics from, you know, orgasm to raising the dead. What's our spread? Orgasm to raising the dead. What do you want to know about? Now Kelly brightens up. Oh, raising the dead. Talk about that. What does that look like? Yes, it is true. That is what one of my lineages does carry. Nirvana, you have anything to ask? You're just hanging out. Just hanging out. Cool. All right. Well, you're just hanging out after 7 minutes of me yakking pretty well nonstop. Hey, now people are showing up. What's all this? People showing up after 40 minutes to say, hey, here we go. We're good. What do we got? Nope, that was still him. Oh, be in the body would help dealing with emotions and even my partner. Yeah, of course, because the one thing that people don't always realize or know is, you know, this whole idea of rapport and also connection has to do with our vagus nerve. Now, our vagus nerve pretty well is the longest nerve in our body. It starts up in our face and it runs all the way down to our genitals. And it's what I call our social nerve. So if you are with a bunch of people who are anxious, your vagus nerve is going to be responding to their anxiousness as well. And so it kind of spirals. It's like, oh, your vagus nerve goes, wow, there's anxiety here. We should be anxious. What's going on? And it starts to trigger a higher pulse rate and breath and stuff like that. So you might notice when you're, you know, how you're with some people who are like, oh, I just love being with you, because it's like, whenever I'm with you, my body just relaxes and it feels so great and everything's wonderful. Well, that's because that person's vagus nerve has a really good tone to it and people want to be with it. The vagus nerves want to relax. So here's a cool way to find out, what's your vagus nerve's tone? Like, how okay is my vagus nerve? So if you find your pulse in your wrist, and this is really funny because sometimes I cannot freaking find my pulse. I always think, oh my God, this is true. I am dead. I am one of the immortals. If you find your pulse in your wrist, and once you find it, what you're going to do is you're just going to take a regular inhale, feel the pulse, and then when you exhale, find and see if there's a difference. So if I take a breath in and then I exhale, do that several times. And then did you feel a difference in your pulse rate between your inhale and your exhale? Kelly's smiling. I'm guessing last time you did this, Kelly, how was it? No. Yeah, right. So you're basically, if your vagus nerve is in really good shape, in other words, your nervous system, your autonomic nervous system is chilling and good, you'll see a huge difference. Huge meaning like pulse. Let's say your pulse is going do, 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 and you exhale and it goes do, do, do. Yes, Kelly, woohoo! Yes, so when you feel that big difference, you know that your autonomic nervous system is pretty chilling. It's doing pretty well. And if there's not a lot of difference, you're like, what difference, Tanya? Then you know that your vagus nerve is highly reactive. And when we have highly reactive vagus nerves, we feel we're hypervigilant. So this is where, you know, people will say, well, I'm an empath and I'm super sensitive. And I'll like, well, you're actually really anxious. And then people hate me and get mad at me. But it's like hypervigilance is one of those things where if you were traumatized as a kid, and trauma can be anything from being yelled at to being abandoned, whatever, your vagus nerve will be on high alert. And so you're very sensitive to the cues of other people around you because you're looking for danger all the time. And so if you have that highly sensitive, highly agitated vagus nerve, you'll feel quote unquote empathic, but you'll feel all the bad, dangerous, scary things. You'll feel low energy around a bunch of people. You'll be intolerant of noises. You'll startle easily. All of that stuff is your vagus nerve being just really just not in a good place. So as you, I know one of my students said that to me once. She said after she'd been working with me for a while, and she said, yeah, the other day we were sitting at lunch and somebody knocked a salt shaker and it landed in my lap. And she goes, everybody at the table jumped but me. She goes, and I realized, I just looked down at the salt shaker and picked it up. And she goes, I realized, oh my God, it didn't startle me. I'm like, right, there you go. Vagus nerves chilling out. You're feeling good. You're inhabiting your body and your body is responding. That's awesome. Doesn't take away your sensitivity. If you get your true sensitivity is different than hyper reaction sensitivity. That's a very different thing. Why do I know this? Because I've been both. I know what it's like to be hypervigilant. So that is something that breath work, certainly, and the foundation of all of Tantra, whether it's lineage Tantra or Neo Tantra, is breath work. And I know people are like, Tanya, that's so not sexy. Why? I want to get to the good stuff. Get to the good stuff. What's all this other stuff about? All of the stuff starts with breath work. If you don't, and there's only 4 really main breath work practices you have to have. And if you have those 4 main breath work practices, it's all you need to hold the hands of God during sex. It's all you need to create transformation within your body, to get your vagus nerve in tune, to be able to have great orgasms, to be able to connect and be present and inhabit your body with somebody else, not somebody else's body inhabiting, but, you know, like that. Maybe even inhabiting somebody else's body, true. You could probably do that. Usually there's 2 more breath works that you probably need to do that though. So what about evil? Somebody did ask me about that. Like, oh, what about these Tantra people who, like, you know, you get to know a Tantra person online. They're like, oh, I'm a Tantric. And you're like, oh, that's cool. And you're having conversations with them. And the next thing you know, holy crap, they're telling you, like, when you're like, dude, I don't want to talk to you anymore. They're all like, ooh, you have made me angry. Now I will cast a spell upon you and my energy is connected to yours and you cannot unhook me and I will do horrible things to you. All right. And a lot of people get very scared because some of these people are very intimidating and quite psychopathic. And so let me tell you this, nothing sticks to a non-sticky surface. So the only way anybody sticks to you or cords you or whatever new age word we're going to use for that is if you are sticky. So how to not be sticky? inhabit your body and don't be in internal conflict. Usually it's about your internal conflict with the situation going on. It's like, oh, but I kind of liked him. Ooh, but I don't want to like him. Okay, that's a conflict. Ooh, I'm afraid that I can't get away from him. Yes, that's a conflict. Nobody can do anything to you if you are not sticky. That's it. So these people, the so-called, there are tantric predators out there, of course, because there's predators in all ranks of people. And they like to come along and try to find women, and it's mostly men. There are some women tantric predators as well. But they want to come around and find people who are wounded, who are willing to just give up their power to somebody else who says, I'm tantric, and they start to have great conversations. These people are great seductresses and seducers, and then get sucked in. And I would love to say that it's uncommon, but it's not. And so I really feel like, I have to step up and kind of say something about that. So the best way to not be lured into something you don't want to be, and I would say trust your gut. The problem is if you are not inhabiting your body, you can't trust your gut. And if you've been traumatized, you can't trust your gut, because your intuition is not intuition. It's hypervigilance. So, and Kelly's saying, yes, she knows that. Kelly's been with me for a long, long time. So that's very, very true. So how do you do that? Well, you ask somebody else's opinion. Get somebody that's not as involved to kind of say, what does this look like? Is this kind of creepy or weird? Or does this look like this? You can always call me. I'm happy to, sort it out before you go down a bad path. If somebody's legitimate, they are not trying to seduce you. If somebody's a legitimate teacher, they are not trying to say, oh, I'm going to tether you, cord you, whatever. That's just not true. Yeah. So just be aware of that, especially online, because, online anybody can be anybody, and that is like profile dating as well, right? If you've profile dated, here's my picture. And then you see them and you go, I don't even recognize you. That's right. I used somebody else's picture. I didn't think you'd mind. Yeah, okay. Tantric dating, when somebody says I'm tantric, you can imagine being somebody who teaches this. I get everybody's nude pictures. I can't even tell you the stuff that comes in my mail. And I was kind of like, this has nothing to do with me being tantric. Does not mean give me your naked pictures. So don't do that. And no, I don't want to come and have a threesome or a foursome or whatever. It's sexual empowerment, which Neo Tantra can teach you, is not about, I just can get naked with everybody. Now I could, but it's not about that. Sexual empowerment isn't that now I'm oozing my sexuality over everybody, or that I'm, rubbing up against everybody that I see. No, sexual empowerment is a personal turn on, arousal through your whole body, feeling incredibly awesome about your life. But it's yours. You don't need to bleed it or push it or layer it on other people. That's not cool. That's called lack of boundaries. So a boundary is have it, own it, live it, feel juicy, wonderful, awesome. Use it for youth, anti-aging. Tantra is awesome for anti-aging. Use it for that. Use it for creativity. Use it for fuel. Use it for fire. But you don't have to layer it on other people. So let's not do that, okay? And especially if you see me at a workshop, don't do that to me. That's a no-no. Anything? Waiting.
I can see her, but now I can't hear her.
Oh, really?
She's talking away, but
I know.
Okay.
I was trying to telepathically communicate with you all of you.
Oh, okay, you're back. Great.
That's my super duper special Tantra disappearing act.
Wow.
I just was so aroused, I just blew the internet connection right off of my computer. Sorry about that. That's exactly what happened. I mean, I don't know what that happened, but all of a sudden I was totally gone. My computer connection and everything was down, even though my daughter's was apparently still on. So, hey, all right, let's bring that arousal down just a couple of notches. Settle into it a little bit. Speaking of arousal, I think one of the most awesome things on the planet is learning that your arousal is not just a sexual thing. That actually being in arousal is one of the greatest gifts that we have, but it's not about being just in your genitals, because, the thing about arousal just in a small area of your genitals is that that's a small area, you know, so you get a certain aroused, you get all that blood pumping in there, you get engorgement in there. And if that energy doesn't move out of there, yeah, that is too much. It's uncomfortable because it's constrained in one area. So learning how to move that energy so that it inhabits your entire body and then expand it outwards, not upwards. Remember, we don't want to go up and down. We're getting out of up and down, and we're moving out, circle, around, out. So moving outward in our body is what we actually want to do, new style, instead of using the old technique of up and down to blow our circuits out. So arousal expanding through your body really just creates this amazing passion and excitement for life. You know, people are always saying to me, like, God, you're just like, woohoo, you know, like that. Yes, I am, but in a grounded fashion, not in a blown out fashion. And that's all about having access to that arousal, having that passion, fuel, fire, the rising up. Most people are all like, oh, let's be in our heart, and are all disconnected from there down. That's kind of vapid. That has that kind of like, oh, that's sweet. No, there's nothing wrong with that. But if it's not, there's no fire going on, trust me, you're not going very far. So ramp up your arousal. One of the things that is important, I think, to learn is to expand your capacity for pleasure. Most people, like I said, you get aroused or horny and it's in one area. Your biology is telling you, expel that, get rid of that, relieve that tension. You don't want that tension in your body. That's procreative biology telling you get rid of the tension. What we want to do is get aroused, get to that tightness, and then work on expanding by relaxing and surrendering and building it up more. So I think that most of us, and I know that I was probably like at a -20 when I started out in my ability to hold arousal. It's like I got a little aroused, I had to get rid of that. And part of it was medicating myself. Like, you know, I was so anxious that basically if I had an orgasm, I got a half an hour window of like, oh, that's nice. And then back to, oh, that's nice. Okay, back to this. So that was a medication tool. So that was part of it. My anxiety would get to a certain level. And it's like, okay, well, I know for sure, because I don't drink, I don't do drugs, I don't smoke, I don't do any of that. Orgasm was my medication. And one would say, well, what's wrong with that? Well, a lot, because I had such a low capacity for pleasure that it really drained my body. And women can be drained by orgasm just like men can. And you know it, you've done it. You know how that feels if you're done and all of a sudden you're like, don't touch me, I'm done, I just want to fall asleep, it's over. That is shut down. So expanding that ability, learning to be in arousal and then be in more arousal and then be in more arousal and then be in more arousal. It's like, wow, how far can you go? I haven't found the limit yet. It's pretty darn amazing. And so what happens when you live in arousal all day long? Well, no, like I said, you're not like, oh my God, I have to have sex now, I'm going to jump anybody I find, because you've expanded past that point of that pressure being there all the time. But to live in a state of arousal, full body arousal, just energetic arousal, means I can take a breath and have an orgasm because I'm pretty well orgasmic. Now, orgasmic is not, I'm all bliss, la la la, I can't think because I'm bliss. No, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about fire and fuel and passion and warrior depth, right? And to me, that's also courage. I need that fuel for courage. Because when I walk into the battle of my life, right, to do a change, to right now, like the people who know me well know, there's really big crap going on in my life right now. And if I wasn't in this space like this, if I didn't have this flame and I didn't have this courage, I'd probably be in a ball somewhere. I would be doing this call, that's for damn sure. So that's courage, passion, that kind of stuff we want. And all that does when it hits the heart is make your love be more aroused too. So what about everything is love and light and bliss? Well, that's kind of new agey. If you know real tantric, we're not like that at all. We're about full embodiment of every single emotion that you could absolutely have. I am angry. I have every emotion, all of it. I'm not afraid of any of them. I can be them. It's all cool. I don't aspire to love, light, and peace because that's unrealistic. First of all, it's not real in myself or the planet or the world. Chaos theory is nature. Tantra is very connected to nature. So if you ever wonder about something, you can look outside. Does anything stay in one place? Is anything static? If we were to live in a blissful state of love, we would be one static dimensional thing, and we would be defying the laws of nature and Tantra. So, world peace, not going to happen. Why? Because it's against nature. So we're really not going to go to that. Could we learn how to be understanding of each other? Yeah, we could definitely do more of that. But world peace? No. And I'm not sure that that texture would work for anybody either, because we're not made to have that kind of way. Like if you think about your emotions are doing this all day long, you realize your longest emotion is 90 seconds. Yes, that heartbreak that you've been carrying around for 15 years, that's just looping in a program. The actual pain was 90 seconds. 90 seconds, and then you can go back to it for another 90 seconds, and 90 seconds, 90 seconds. That's what you can do. Otherwise, you can just release it. I think I did a live video earlier today on doing just that on my wall. You can go check it out. All right. I'm on a monologue. I'm on a roll. Actually, I'm on a ball. Oh, that's right. Tantrics are goofy tricksters and happy people too. Not all like, sorry, I'm not sitting here in my pose. All right. Anybody else? I'm going to be heading out otherwise. Let's see. Did I miss anything, Tom, while I was gone? What's up?
No, I actually had one last question.
Oh, please. Bring it up.
Really, out of curiosity, when you mentioned Tantra and raising the dead, I just really am fascinated to hear more about that.
Almost spit my drink out. This, by the way, is my new favorite beverage of the world, Wild Tonic. It's a cousin of kombucha, and it rocks the house. If you get a hold of this stuff, you will just be going crazy on it. Anyway, I'm actually wholesaling it into my house right now. So, all right, what do we got here? Okay, cool. We've got your question. Look at this. All right, okay. So, raising the dead, what's up with that? Okay, so raising the dead probably is not as tough as you might think, because it's all about energy mastery, which is what lineage Tantra really is about, energy mastery, harnessing energy. And if you consider that when energy creates an agreement with matter and creates a physical form, and that might be us or a rock or whatever, that energy, that spark, when I wrote the book, Riding the Phoenix, I talk about that spark right there, that agreement between energy coalescing into physical matter. It's just about that spark. Now, something small, like there was a bunch, So my daughter's fish died. I had a whole group of people at the house one day, and my daughter's fish, one guy says, "Oh my God, your fish is floating upside down." And my daughter was going through a really horrible thing. And I'm like, we don't need the fish to be floating upside down today. This is not okay. And the guy had gone over there, poked it. He said, "Yeah, it's dead." So we just left him there. I was finishing my meeting. And then all of a sudden, my students are going, "Dude, why is the fish swimming around in the bowl?" Fish is cool. Fish are small. It takes very little energy to respark a fish. Now, a body, that's a considerably more energy. So physically, or the physics of it is not really undefiable, right? I mean, it's like a spark. Can you create it? Do you have enough resource to create spark, to create things? My teacher could go like this, and there was a sandwich. I don't know how much energy it takes to create a sandwich, but I will tell you this. If you are not living a guru lifestyle, because people, of course, say to me then, "Oh, you make bold claims. You're just a psychopathic liar," or "Show me that you can do that." If you are not in Olympic training as a guru, if you're not sitting and doing practices all day long, you don't have access to that kind of resource. It's just like anything else. If you want to go run a marathon, you've been sitting your ass on the couch for 15 years, you're not going to go run a marathon tomorrow. Harnessing energy is the same thing. You're either practiced or you're not. You're either resourced or you're not. I chose to live a life, create a business, have a family. I'm not sitting in a cave somewhere, sitting guru, just practicing all day long. Now, my teacher could do things that I could do when I was with him that I cannot do now. There's still some things I can bring up. Some people know that they've been around me enough, they can see some kind of stuff happen and go, "Wow, that's kind of crazy stuff," okay? But it's about resources. So if your resources are going out into the world, to your family, to your business, this, that, then you don't have resources. I've cured 3 incurable illnesses in myself. they took a tremendous amount of resource. I had to turn a lot of energy inward to create that healing. So just think of it like that. It's pure energy. That's resource in, resource out. That's all it is. As far as the tricks to do it, rituals to do it, all Tantra rituals and tools and mudras and yantras and all of those things are simply to be there to bring your focus and attention to something. You don't actually need them if you know how to bring focus and attention. But if you're if you have your sandalwood board and your mango stick and you got your little powder and you're drawing your yantra and stuff, it's about being focused and bringing that focus. When you're chanting 101 chants, what are you doing? You're bringing focus and attention, and you're bringing your energy to bear. So most of all of that is really about learning how to be that focused and that attentive. So it's not so much that the thing is, I would say, well, this is my ritual right here. It's like you can make it anything, what you're focusing on. So that's kind of the simple version of it. Yes. Could anybody learn how to do that? I think that if you have the energetic download, it's a lot easier because you're carrying all the lineage of everybody else along with you. But mastery is available for any human body. It just is. So that's what I say about that.
Cool. Thank you.
Awesome.
And there's a question, one more question from Shane here on tips for business.
Yeah, Tantra and business. So I do teach Tantra for business, and there's two ways that works. One is if you're living a tantric lifestyle, meaning that you are resourcing yourself and you understand your breath work and you understand how to walk in and command a room because you're in the higher, your vagus nerve is in tone and everybody wants to respond and report to you because of that, then clearly you're going to have influence. So if you're talking about that, as far as tips in business, like how to do business using Tantra, once again, it still comes back to the same thing. Are you in high arousal? Are you resourced? Are you inhabiting your body instead of your head? Most of us do business from our heads, and that's only one area, and we have 7 body wisdoms. We have more than that, but there's 7 classic ones. So you'd have to be more specific on that question. Please speak about your lineage. Did you travel? I was fortunate enough to have grown up all over the world, and I have studied in Africa, and I've studied in India, and I've studied in South America and the United States with different masters, gurus, different teachers, done apprenticeships and things like that. My Tantra Master was both in India and other places because if somebody can materialize a sandwich, really, trust me, they don't really need to be in any one particular place. So yes, I did travel, but so did he. I just finished a reflexology course. So Shane, you were asking practices about that. That's really going to be, once again, that's about what are you bringing to yourself? How resourced are you? Because if you come from a place of desperation when you're out trying to do business, you're going to push things away versus bring things to you. If you're personally resourced, then it's people match or fit into what it is you're doing. It's a lot easier. These are great questions, Sandra. What are your daily practices to maintain your tantric energy? How do you remind yourself to get back to optimum state in your day-to-day interactions? Well, I can, like I said, depending on what I'm doing in the world. Right now I'm building an online empire, and I was actually one of the first women to make money online. So I have a lot of energy going out. I have a daughter and a relationship. I have lineage students. I have, groups, things. I got a lot going on. So my daily practices, my first main daily practice is gratitude. When I wake up in the morning, when I open my eyes in the morning, I am like, yes, I am alive. Woo! Literally, that's how I wake up. Why? Because I have not been alive. I mean, I've been, almost dead or dead and brought back and that type of stuff. So I am like grateful every day and multiple times throughout the day just to be alive, inhabit my body. That's my other big practice. Presence, inhabit my body, right? Am I in my body? It's pretty easy. Get in your body. So breath work is something that is a micro practice throughout the day. You will not see me. So in other words, I don't sit for hours meditating. I do active meditation. I don't sit for hours in mudras or poses because I don't need to. It's really about, really, to me, the presence that I bring. It's so funny because I'm looking at his question like I'm talking to him. That's so funny. It's really about the energy that I bring to any given moment. So there are some times when I want to do something special, whether, you know, that's lovemaking or business or whatever, where I want to bring some energy and intent to that, where I really want to, you know, bring forces to bear. And then basically that will be what I do, which is to visualize what it is, feel it, get into my body, and see what it is. So my biggest practice, inhale what is, exhale what will be. If you can do that all day long, you're going to rock it. Inhale what is, that means accept the reality of the moment. Exhale what will be as you step into the next moment. If I were to decide that I needed to raise the dead and do like crazy cool things like that, I would have to probably spend maybe 2 hours, 2.5 hours a day doing practices of breath work and really charging, because right now I'm kind of breath weak. You know, I could not sit and do, I know my students can, which is awesome. I can't sit and do 7 sets of 3 minutes of fire breath in a row. I cannot do that right now. And that is kind of something that I would need to be able to do to tonify my body in a certain way. So I don't have to remind myself to get back to my optimum state, because this is how I want to live. I mean, in the sense that it's, if you live this way, why would you want to live any other way? I mean, why would you want to let yourself just not be in arousal and not be excited? And inspiration, nature, right here in front of me, I live on the beach with the Olympic Mountains behind me. And every day when I'm outside, I'm inspired by my heron buddies and the ospreys and the eagles. And oh my God, this morning the sunrise was glorious. So I'm very in tune with nature, and I really am inspired daily by my breath and the fact that I'm alive and the beautiful texture of the world. So that's that. Yes, so I answered that. Yeah, those are great questions. Thank you. And I want to say that when I found my teacher, so I had like a homing beacon from the time I was like 6 years old or 5 years old to find this person, find something. And it took me a really long time. And after I found him and trained with him, and he said, hey, I want you to take this lineage, but I want you to kind of resurrect or change what the old style is. We're not using that anymore, and make it something tangible. It took me 15 years. I kicked and screamed. I said, I'm not interested in that. Don't make me out to be like, I don't care. I don't want to carry on your freaking legacy and whatever. Like, I just want to go sail and scuba dive and ride my horse and do this stuff. And you're asking me to do something really big. So I rebelled. I wasn't mature enough. I rebelled for a long time until it just became clear that there was something I needed to do. So I wouldn't say that I would have been his model student. And I was very bad in the beginning of devotion. I was very arrogant, and I had a lot of ego, and I had a lot of fear. And it's kind of like going to the gates of the martial arts studio, and you bang on the door and say, I want to learn martial arts. And this sensei students come out and kick your ass and throw you out, you know, and you keep coming back. It was kind of like one of those. My teacher was very old school. He wasn't all love and light. He wasn't about telling you, oh, you're wonderful, I love you, this is great. He was more like, you are shit, you know? What is up with you? You come and bother me with your stupidity. Yeah, so I had to learn a lot about devotion. I will say that. They're all laughing at me, yeah. You should see what he did when I asked him if I could have a spiritual name. So I will share that with you guys. I'm like, one day I'm like, oh, I've been doing real good. I've been doing real good. Do I get a cool spiritual name? And he's laughing at me, and he's like, oh, you want a cool spiritual name? Now, this was in my head, okay, because he actually never spoke. You want a cool spiritual name? I'm like, yeah, I want a cool spiritual name. Look at me. I've done all this cool stuff. And he goes, all right, okay, that's cool. All right. And he looks over and, I'm looking to look past me, getting inspiration, I'm sure. Give me some beautiful name. And he goes, shit dog. And I'm like, shit dog? What does that mean? He goes, shit dog. And I'm like, shit dog. That sounds cool. What does it mean? And he's pointing over my shoulder, and I turn around and there's this dog that had just left a pile of shit. And he goes, shit dog. There you go. My spiritual name. Thank you. Thank you very much from my teacher. I tried to make it something cool. Trust me. I was like, oh, I see. It all comes from the in and the out. And it's like the infinity of whatever. And he's shaking his head. So no. Vulnerable story. There it is. The venerable shit dog. We like to say that fast. Shit dog. So it sounds cool. But yeah, it is what it is. All right. Anybody got anything else? I know I think I had this live for about an hour and a half, so we got about 15 minutes left. I feel it's been like the Tanya show. And I think that's Mona. Hi, Mona.
Hi.
Oh, look, and she's live too. We can hear her. Do you have any questions?
I do actually. Sorry I'm late.
No problem.
I had a question. My partner, when he thinks that when he ejaculates, that's releasing his energy. Yeah, I was the one that asked this question. And it's releasing his creative energy. And he is the founder of a startup. So he's like, I need to hold on to all my creative energy. And I guess I'm trying to understand if that really is the case, but that just doesn't make sense to me that that's releasing an energy. I feel like if you're intimate the right way, then what you're like creating something bigger than you. And it's not necessarily that you're releasing or giving your partner something from you, it's that you're coming together and creating something bigger. So I just wanted to ask a professional.
Thank you. That is a great question. So first of all, obviously he's either read some books around Tantra or something like that, but this idea that ejaculation is life force energy is very Taoist and Tantric. And basically what the Taoist and Tantric say is that a man is born, how like a woman is born with all the eggs she's ever going to have. And as they die off, that's kind of what happens. Well, a man is born with a limited amount of life force energy, which is his sperm. And we know that sperm is rejuvenated. So, obviously there's not a limited, but the energetics of what it takes to create sperm, because it has an agreement with life, is a lot. So it may be a little amount that they lose, but the energy required to create it again is immense. So it's believed, and depending on the age group, that a man when he ejaculates, he loses life force energy. A lot of the tantric men that I have been with in later years, some of them absolutely they don't ejaculate. I know one guy who hadn't ejaculated in like 30 years. Some of them will ejaculate once a year just to remember that they can, or something, I don't know why. Or some are just conscious about it. Now, so it is true. And if you ask any man who ejaculates, typically after he ejaculates, he feels tired. And that is that kind of releasing. So if you want to hold on to that energy, and I had actually talked a lot about arousal just before you came on, and you're using that arousal, that energy to fill your body up, to do more things. So in theory, what he's talking about is true. However, you didn't say whether or not he was practicing learning how to separate ejaculation and orgasm, in which case, yeah.
He was, but he's not anymore.
Okay. So he didn't master that, is what happened. Is it just was too hard to master. And that is true. Unless your woman's totally on board and helping you out do it, and you have the right program, most men will fail at doing it. And then they get discouraged, but because they have the knowledge now, they don't want to ejaculate. And so they get freaked out about that. And so that is not an untypical thing to happen. So what I would say, how old is he?
He's 31.
Okay. So at 31, he could ejaculate, 4 or 5 times a month, maybe even 6 times a month without a lot of detriment. But he'd have to see like how that feels. And now if he's scared in his head, obviously he's going to feel that quote unquote effect more. So I would say that if he's, you know, so what you're saying is he's avoiding sex altogether then? That's sad. That's sad, because what he's doing then is he's avoiding arousal too. And so you can tell him this. The whole point of not ejaculating is to build your capacity for pleasure and arousal. So if he's devoid, like he's not getting aroused and he's just bypassing that, he's taking his creativity down more than ejaculating 5 or 6 times a month.
I need to write that down. Thank you.
So you just let him know that basically the whole point of learning ejaculation mastery is to build arousal, be in high arousal. When I'm teaching men how to do that, I have them in like working on their arousal expansion all the time. So they're not missing out on that. It's not like they shut down, because shutting down that power and that creativity and not making love is more detrimental than the other way. So he was right and you were right, just in different ways.
Thank you.
You're very, very welcome. Oh, that's a great question. So, okay, this was pretty exciting. Like I said earlier for you guys, one of the things that I have done, or we have done, is we have created a Tantra Uncovered. Tantra Uncovered. How do you love that? I love that. Tantra Uncovered, which is going to be our membership area and membership site community for people who want to continue to learn more about Tantra lineage, Tantra and Neo Tantra. Tom will throw up a link. You can go check out what it is that we're offering there, and any questions that you have related to that, you can always let me know. I'll send you all an email about it tomorrow. Because for the past at least 6 years, my students have been saying, we want this, an affordable way to access you and get knowledge. And so we're going to be doing foundation course first. That's 10 lessons that you'll be a members area that you take. And then we'll put you in about week 5 or 6 into our community area, where you get to hang out with other people who are doing this. I do Q&As and lessons once a week, put practices up. Oh, you can't hear me? You guys can hear me, right? Shane can't hear me. Sorry, Shane. I can't say you. He can't hear me then. You can't hear me. He's not hearing me say this either. Everybody else is hearing me. Maybe you could type to him, Tom, that everybody else can hear me. So basically, it's a way to get more access to me, more access to a community. And it's not going to be creepy, smarmy community. I'm actually involved in it really hard. So there's nobody that's going to be hitting people up or anything like that. So that's what I'm really excited about, is to create a community where we can all continue to learn and grow and have access to all this great information. So I'm going to put practices up that we're going to do. We can talk about them. And like I said, you'll get information on a link here, and then I'll email it to you as well. Yay. So if you liked what you saw tonight, the Tanja Show, you're going to love hanging out with me in a community. I'll tell you that right now, because I can talk like this for weeks. That's the other great thing about all this arousal. And I am non-caffeinated. I do not do caffeine. You can only imagine what would happen to me if I did. So this is just arousal. So Tom's got that link down there, and if nobody has any more questions, I will end up taking off for the evening. So I know Mona came in late. You got anything else you want to ask, Mona?
Probably so many other things, but I'll just wait for a different venue.
Well, give me one other thing you might have.
I guess something that I'm trying to work on is, like, I feel like I'm coming into my womanhood. And I guess I had a question around like what I can do to like really come into it, you know, some things that I can do personally to like come into my power.
Okay, cool. Well, the first thing is, as you know, we've been talking about, that I have talked about, is breath work. If you don't have some really powerful breath work practices, you might as well just don't do anything else. And that is for everybody here. I don't care where you want to go. If you don't do breath work, don't bother doing anything else. You're just not going to get the benefit or power that you could. So for that kind of power, like really connecting into your first and second body wisdom, which would be the first and second chakras, you really want to do practices that ground you and make you feel like you are in your body in that part, instead of being up here in the love and upper spaces up here. Power resides in our spine and our second chakra, in our sex center, and in our will, in our bellies. So if you love your belly as a woman, one of the big things that we can do is love our bellies. Because I'll tell you what, especially in Western societies, man, people are really harsh about their stomachs. You know, it's like, I don't have a six pack. Yeah, it's like that. We're too. Ugh. And when we contract in our abdomen, we cut off energy and blood flow to everything else. So I would rather see people with a little bit of softness in their abdomen. In fact, I work with models. This is awesome. Male models. Male models come to me. It's like, I want to be dynamic in pictures. You know, I want to like just sex appeal just coming out of me. And I'm like, great. So we're going to release your abdomen. What do you mean? You see how tight that is? Let's like expand it. Just give it to me here. No, I couldn't do that. I've got to have this fair like this. No. When you're posing, lock it down. But when you're not posing, let it be softer. And to yoga teachers, dancers, oh my gosh, they're all like, you know, Kelly relates to this for sure. I know when I get Kelly to breathe into my hand the first time, it's like, there is nothing here, nothing motion, there is nothing happening. Let it release. So what you can do is think about expansion in the lower part of your body. And I mean literally physically, I'm not saying get fat, I'm saying literally physically allow the lower half of your body to relax. Let your butt relax, let your abdomen relax, put your hands really low right above your pubic bone. And if you can really release and breathe into that and let it really get round and expand outward and all these ways, because you can breathe into your back too, by the way. You can move your back when you breathe, right? Really relax that. You're going to be accessing more energy to that. And pulling that energy upward is what we want to do. So be in high arousal. Don't orgasm a lot. Don't throw your arousal off. Build up the capacity for pleasure. Ground into the body. Release the abdomen. Get it soft around. Self-pleasure every day. And self-pleasure means your whole body. It doesn't mean masturbate to orgasm. It means build arousal. Build arousal. Breathe it in. So that is the best way either to get into your male power or your feminine aspect. Either one is really about getting low and inhabiting your body, and think about expanding everything, right? No more up and down practices. I said earlier, up and down practices were created for people who are on the earth. We are not on the earth, we're in our heads. Let us do expansive practices now, and things will change drastically for you. In fact, the first time you take a breath and you actually expand outward instead of stream upward, you'll be like, whoa, yes, yes, that's awesome. Let me give you more of that. So softer bellies, softer butts. I used to have this sticker that said, ask me about my butt. It was all about me unclenching my butt. You could try some internal static hold with your anus. I did say that. Take your hand right at the entrance of your lotus blossom, your anus. You can just push on that muscle and just hold and breathe and relax that whole area of your body. You'd be surprised at the amount of energy that rushes in your lower spine when you can actually soften and release that whole area. So that is definitely something that I have my students do. Right? Yes, Kelly. Yes, for sure.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Does that give you some hints and power things to do there?
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Kelly, does your cat have a question? Yeah. I see the question mark tail.
Shane actually has a question about the program here, Tanya.
Yes. You did level 1, yes. At the beginning of Tantra Uncovered, start the same. No. So yeah, so you were in my personal development program, Your Life Unleashed. This is a Tantra group program, which will be very much Tantra related, though, as you know, breath work is everything I teach has to do with breath work, of course. So when does it start? Basically, the Tantra group, Tantra Uncovered, it's evergreen, so it's starting right now. It's starting tomorrow or the next day when we get people joined up, and you'll go into your members area and your lessons are all right there. So if you were to go punch the button right now, you'd go over, get into your members area, and you could start immediately, though the course is drip fed, the lessons, because I actually believe it or not, I care that you actually learn something. I don't want to just shove information at you and then you're like, oh, that's great. I actually want you to get value and to learn and experience and expand, because to me, otherwise you're wasting your time, your resources, and mine. So yes, you'll get drip fed once a week, the lessons, and it starts whenever you do. And then you'll get into the group, like I said, at your 5 or 6 week, whenever you start, you'll be getting access to the group. And then you'll be in a community of people who are learning the same things and who are speaking kind of the similar language, and who is definitely moderated by myself and a coach or two of mine. So no shenanigans. No shenanigans happening there. That's for sure. Can people get booted? All right, so that get your question there, Shane? I'm glad you can hear me again. So for some reason that is working. So cool. Yes, you would benefit from that. And that link will take you to all the details you need right there. So you want to go, what is that? And you'll get a little video of me again. Ha ha. Me and my rock star wall. Okay, I know that our recording is going to be ending here in just a little while, or my Zoom room is going to shut down is what's going to happen in T-2. So I had a super great time. I love, as you can tell, I absolutely love teaching and, you know, answering questions and giving people information. I think that, I think if anything, you know, obviously I'm excited about my life and I'm excited and passionate about what I do. And I wish that I could share this stuff with the world. I actually teach teens, and I'm actually going to be going to high school and teaching teachers about humanitarian practices in Tantra. How cool is that? Yes. So they're resourced and they can help the teens. And this is all about suicide prevention and anti-bullying and anti-stressing the teens in school. Yes. So I take this everywhere I can go. I have taught in churches. I have taught, if you name it, I've been there. So yeah, it's exciting. And I believe that we could all use that empowerment. Like I said, we don't all need to raise the dead, but we certainly all need to be connected and aroused and in passion and excitement and gratitude about our lives. So I want to thank everybody for your time. I know that's a really valuable commodity. I certainly know mine is. And I'm super happy you guys showed up. And mwah! To everybody. So thank you. Yes, thank you, everybody. Have a great evening, morning, wherever it is you are. And I hope that we see each other again. And I am going bye-bye. Now I go to sleep. Bye-bye, everybody.